I want to read you some questions that represent queries Melissa and I get every single day. Now they got me thinking, and we're going to come to that in a moment. These questions arrive in various different shapes and forms, but my answer to all of them is actually always the same. What is the best aperture to use? If I change my aperture from 5.6 to f11 or f16, will it make much difference to depth of field, or will it be unnoticeable? Can I use my filters on my camcorder? How much difference will swapping from a sunny white balance preset to a cloudy one make? Which lens will give me the best results when I go out to shoot pictures? Can I shoot a portrait with a 50mm lens? What's the best shutter speed to use? What shutter speed and EV level should I set on my speed light for second sync movement blur? That last one you can see is from someone who's obviously fairly advanced with the technical stuff. My answer to all of these questions is try it and see. Now, before we go any further, I want you to know that I understand photography is a big confusing subject when you're starting out. I've been there myself. But questions like these suggest a reluctance to experiment, to try something out, see what happens. And it isn't just the beginners who are asking questions where the answer is try it and see. So what is generating questions of this type? What's behind them? Is it fear of getting them wrong? Is it fear of laziness? Do we want someone else to do the work for us? If we do want someone else to do the work for us, there's a problem here because we miss out on valuable experience because we're not getting into action and trying stuff out. Instead of simply being given an answer, there are huge benefits to be gained by experimenting and finding an answer for ourselves. It's called experiential learning, learning through experiencing something. Think back to being a kid. Were you ever told not to touch something because it was hot, not to stand on the ice because it's thin, but you wanted that cake fresh and steamy from the oven? You wanted to slide on that ice, so you just went and did it anyway. And by doing that, you learnt that new baked cake burns your mouth and standing on thin ice makes you cold and wet. You remembered those lessons way better because you had an experience. It's one thing to be told something and quite another to experience it. Do you learn better by being told about them, reading about them, watching them, or doing them for real? Of course you need some pointers to get you started. I've given you hundreds of free videos and a bunch of courses you can buy. They've got everything you need to get you rocking and rolling. But you have to take action and try things for yourselves. You have to experiment. Oh, come on, Browne, just tell me the settings I need. I'm going on safari in Kenya next week, for goodness sake. Stop dithering, man. Would I be able to tell you your settings for every scenario you're likely to encounter when photographing African wildlife? Think about it. Light changes moment by moment, so exposure will too. Composition possibilities are endless. Depth of field changes all the time according to distance to subject, focal length and personal choice. Even if I could tell you all the settings and their variables, would you remember them? You're standing in the back of the Land Rover. You're chatting to people who are also on the trip when the sun just breaks through under the clouds and it kisses the top of the mountains in the most wondrous sunset. The bush is stunningly backlit in reds and oranges, and then, as if by magic, the elephant steps from behind the trees and he majestically holds his head high, stares at you, ears out and proud. If I could have told you what to do in this scenario, would you have remembered precisely what you had to do so you didn't have to think about it? Would you effortlessly spin a couple of dials on your camera as you bring it to your eye and shoot the image? Or more likely, would you faff about trying to figure out what it was to do? You know, what was it Browne said about backlight, exposure, comp, and where is it? I don't know. Oh, bang it on auto, burst mode, take as many as possible. I hope there's a good one. Shit, where's the elephant gone? The time to try things out is now, before the event, not during it. I think we've established that most people learn best by doing and trying. So why are we so lazy when we know that getting off our arses and into action will take us forward so much faster? You have to learn to think things through for yourself by trying stuff out, and that means giving up laziness and procrastination. I used to teach photography to mature students at a college, not kids, mature students who were paying money for the course. Yet each week, Some of them would come in and they'd say they hadn't had time to do the homework or prepare for this next lesson. What, you think just 2 weeks, 2 hours a week with me in a classroom, that's going to get you winning competitions and gaining accreditation? We want results without the work, without the pain of trying hard and maybe getting it wrong. That's normal, and it's the same for you, me and everybody. But it doesn't work that way around, because the pain of getting it wrong is where we learn how to get it right. Photography is an elephant, and if you're going to eat an elephant, you've got to do it one bite at a time. You're never going to get the bugger down. We know that, but we procrastinate and we find excuses not to practice camera techniques because it's raining, because we don't have the time, because we need a bit more information. And that's all before we dare take a bite. Laziness is procrastination in disguise. And if we're really honest about it, the root of procrastination is fear of getting it wrong and then feeling crap about it afterwards. Photography is a massive subject, and there's always more to learn. Therefore, there's always plenty of space to get it wrong, and there always will be. I'm sorry, but if you're not prepared to try stuff and get it wrong, there's nothing more I can do to help you. So you just as well stop this video now. I wish you well. Go have a great life. Now, I hope you didn't, and I hope you are still with me here, because I do want to help. No one likes to fail at something, so we're all afraid of failure. At some level, we're afraid someone will point at us and say, they failed. This is becoming a sickness in our society. How many top 10 fails videos are there online? Don't watch them. If you're taking pleasure from someone else's failure, what's that going to do for your own self-esteem? What's it going to do for your own fear that someone will point at you and laugh and call you a failure? Don't watch them. So how do we overcome laziness, get into action and speed things up a bit? Well, what about willpower? Well, it's a start. Willpower gets us up off our arses in the first instance, but it isn't going to carry the day on its own. There's a problem with willpower, and that is it comes across as a drag, something we should do, but we don't really want to. It feels like we're forcing ourselves into doing something, and what's that going to do to your enthusiasm, passion and creativity? We need something more, something that will pull us towards it, not push us, because when we're pushed, we tend to push back the other way, and that's not going to work. So here are my top 5 tips to help you stop being lazy, get you into action, and reach your goals faster. So for number 1, let's start at the beginning. Number 1, what is it you're avoiding by being lazy? What is it you get out of that? And be honest with yourself. Be honest when you answer. Don't just say doing stuff, because that's not an honest answer. That's not going to move things forward. It's much too ambiguous. What stuff? Consider the possibility that it's the fear you might get it wrong. You'll have wasted your time, which of course you won't have done, because getting it wrong is where we learn how to get it right. Next, ask yourself what you want to achieve, and then set a goal. Don't be wishy-washy by saying, I want to take better pictures. What pictures? What photos? Better in whose eyes? Be specific. Once willpower has heaved you up out of the armchair, you need something that excites, motivates and draws you towards it. How about win the landscape competition at Camera Club? Your images illustrating a magazine article, gaining an RPS qualification, or selling your work for real money. What is it for you? Then ask yourself, what's your next step towards that? Remember, this is an elephant you're eating. So think about where you need to take that next bite from. It might be to master exposure, shoot the same subject in different light to see how it alters the image, practice shutter dragging and EV settings with second sync flash to create movement if that was you. Write it all down and set a time frame for each task and reread that every single day, and stay connected with your inspired moment so you take action on the answers. Cross off each task as you complete it so that you can see at a glance what you've done, what you've achieved. This can only increase your self-esteem and make you hungry for the next step. So those are my 5 top tips to help you master your photography faster. Don't be scared to try things out and see what happens. Make notes so you remember and can refer back. Don't worry if you get something wrong. It's how you learn to get it right. Do these things and be honest with yourself, and you'll progress faster than you ever imagined possible. So, over to you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified each time we upload one of our cool photography videos, or for more great photo tips, workshops and training, come and see us at our website, photographycourses.biz.